Okay, let's look at another one. This is exercise 24.4, number 9. And this is a pregnancy complicated by abruptio placenta. And I looked that up. That is a premature separation of the placenta, either partially or totally, from the uterus, separation of the placenta from the uterus, causing significant third trimester bleeding associated with fetal and maternal morbidity and mortality. The morbidity and mortality to the fetus because of decreased oxygen, if the placenta is how the baby gets oxygen, and also nutrients are deprived, and then the maternal, because of the severe bleeding, it can be morbidity and mortality for her. There's uterine contractions, there's fetal distress, and the bleeding, of course. Okay, so here we've got a term pregnancy, so it's not preterm, delivered, a single stillborn, left occipito-anterior, terminal abruptio placenta, and a cord wrapped tightly around the neck with compression. It does not call this cord with compression a nuchal, N-U-C-H-A-L cord, but I have seen that in medical records. It means the same thing. I am not clear what the left occipito-anterior refers to in this case, but based upon the codes that were in the answer key that I had, it doesn't affect our code assignment. So you can see here I have bullet points for the different conditions we're going to code. The pregnancy complicated by the abruptio placenta, the delivery complicated by the cord wrapped around the baby's neck. Because the baby died, we're going to have that maternal care for intrauterine death. The outcome of the delivery being a single infant with stillborn, and the weeks of gestation, 39. The first code is the pregnancy complicated by the abruptio placenta, and you see that it takes you completely out of the pregnancy codes, which I find so interesting. Not sure why that is, because when you go to the abruptio placenta in the index, it takes you right back to chapter 15. So I'm not clear why it makes that distinction in the index, but it does. And when we look in the tabular, we see that we need a fifth character to assign the trimester. In this case, it's the third trimester. So our final code 045.93. Now, let's look at the second part, the delivery complicated by the cord around the baby's neck. And it's pretty straightforward. Delivery complicated by cord around neck with compression. There are codes without compression, so it is important that you notice that last phrase there. You've got another one of those pink boxes telling you your seventh character. In this case, the seventh character is telling us which fetus. We have a single fetus, so we're going to choose 0 as our seventh character. And that takes care of our second bullet point. And then when we go here, we have to also code maternal care for intrauterine death, the outcome of delivery, and the weeks of gestation. As I mentioned in the previous slide, anytime the baby dies, maternal care is provided, and you are coding pregnancy complicated by fetal death. There's the outcome of delivery, single stillborn, and the pregnancy, weeks of gestation. I have this slide just to remind all of us, especially me, it's all in the numbers. It's so important in the pregnancy chapter, the OB chapter, to know the numbers. So wherever you need to write this down, I write it on the page opposite my guidelines. I'll show you in just a second. I write definitions, just things I need to remember. Preterm labor, any labor before 37 weeks, 37 completed weeks. Post-term pregnancy is over 40 completed weeks to 42. That's a post-term. But when you get beyond 42, now you're talking about a prolonged pregnancy. And I make the note here that whenever you are coding a spontaneous abortion, if the gestational age is beyond 20 weeks, you're going to look up delivery in the index to get you to the correct code. So here in my code book, I wanted to show you where I have things written. This is Chapter 15 in the code book, and just opposite it's actually the end of the guidelines for Chapter 15. There's a little bit of room there, so I have written myself notes like, here, let me get this up, preterm labor, post-term pregnancy, prolonged pregnancy, just to help me remember those numbers. And I also have a note to myself up here that whenever you've got a delivery chart, at a minimum, you're going to have a delivery diagnosis. Either it's going to be normal or whatever complication there is, the outcome of the delivery, the weeks of gestation, and any procedures that are done. So this is just a reminder to me to be sure I've coded enough whenever I'm coding a delivery chart. Okay, let's look at a couple that are not in the coding handbook. This is a spontaneous abortion of a single fetus at 21 weeks. Complete meaning a complete abortion. You have spontaneous abortion, you can have a complete, meaning all the products of conception were expelled, or you can have an incomplete, where the body has retained some of the products of conception, and you often have to have a D&C. Spontaneous abortion is really preterm labor with preterm delivery. So that helps you know how you're going to code it. 21 weeks is the second trimester. And if your gestational age is beyond 20 weeks, you're going to look up delivery instead of abortion. And the outcome of delivery, we have to code it, but you notice it didn't tell us live born or not, but obviously at 21 weeks a fetus can't survive. So a fetus at 21 weeks would be stillborn. So that's how you get that Z37.1 code. So here we've got, okay, so here is the pathway for the preterm labor with delivery, the weeks of gestation, and the outcome. I just make a little note here about Clinical Coding Workout 2016. That's where I've got this particular exercise from. If any of you plan on becoming coders, I recommend that you get your hands on a Clinical Coding Workout or something that gives you more scenarios than we can do in this class. It could be more challenging, admittedly, but if it's something you really want to do, it's a great way. This is how I keep my skills up, or using things like that to find codes. Okay, here's another one, and this one was a little tricky, so I wanted to be sure we covered it. Septic shock following incomplete spontaneous abortion. When you go to the index, there's an incomplete abortion with sepsis and an incomplete abortion with shock. But then when you go and you look up your codes, there's an excludes one note with this 003.31 code, which tells you you can't use both of those together. So my conclusion is, because the shock is due to a sepsis, I would assign the sepsis code, which is the first one here. It also tells us to code the infectious agent, what caused the sepsis if we know it. We aren't given that, but we are told the patient has septic shock, and septic shock is classified to R65.21, and that would be your secondary code. As always, be mindful the exercises in this PowerPoint don't address all of the guidelines for Chapter 15. I do expect you to know all those guidelines. Always follow your assignment schedule with regard to specific chapter assignments, and please let me know if you have any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you so much.